Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian, and Josh, I've been meaning to tell you this for a while. I love you like an old dresser.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me you're not my real father, maybe.
Well, I haven't taken the DNA test, so I don't want to eliminate that possibility.
Yeah, we'll go on Maury and find out.
Yeah, so, I'm not your real mother, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's devastating to learn. But
Sure.
What are we talking about here? No Maury Povich. It's a little early for Maury Povich in, history, because in this season of Awesome Movie Year, we are talking about the films of 1946. And we are here at our first feature episode talking about the debut film from a notable filmmaker. And that is Ingmar Bergman, master of world cinema, and his first film, Crisis. Not his most well-known film, certainly, but I think, and Jason has become a Bergman expert in the time between our scheduling this episode and recording this, so he can back me up, but I think this is fairly well establishes a lot of the themes and approaches of Bergman's later films.
Yeah, I found this to be like shaggy, but and not as tight as a lot of his other movies, even the longer ones. But it does bring up a lot of the themes on always looking to your past, in a way, mortality and what life means, and just all those essential issues, Josh, that existential issues, perhaps, is a better way of saying it, that Bergman goes for.
I would say probably both, right? Essential. It is essential to be existential, right? We have to, the unexamined life is not worth living. We have to ponder what our lives mean, and Bergman is here for that.
But is it existential to be essential? I'd say yes.
Okay. We're really, Dave is fascinated by our discussion.
We should go to Bergman Island for this episode.
Bergman Island. I totally forgot about Bergman Island. That's a good thing for us to get into later, maybe.
It's a good film. There's a recommendation for you right off the bat.
Yeah. Maybe, we'll see if we recommend Crisis. I probably don't, but I think Jason does. Again, Jason, you have really just dived into the whole Bergman experience here.
Well, for our listeners who really care about our personal lives, Dave had gone on vacation. So I had this 2 to 3 week window. And, once in a while, like we said, we come up to these blind spots, right? And, I think we're all pretty film literate. I had never seen a Bergman movie. And I'm like, what am I doing, bro? So I watched 5 or 6 in a row. Good for my intellect, bad for my mental health.
Yeah, these are mostly very heavy, as we were just describing, existential type films, and certainly Crisis sets the tone for that. Bergman had worked as a screenwriter prior to this and was very eager to make his debut as a director. Although he did write the screenplay for this film, it is based on source material that he did not originate. It's a play called, depending on how it's translated, The Maternal Heart or The Maternal Instinct by a Danish writer named Leck Fischer. And, we think of Bergman as this auteur, and this is not the kind of movie that you think of as some sort of studio production per se, but this is essentially hey, here's this material, do what you can with it kind of thing, director hired to adapt comic book sort of situation in a way. And Bergman was not particularly pleased with this film, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in America, we would look at it maybe as this guy's written, and he wants to direct, and this was his shot to direct something, right? But it does set a blueprint forward for him of making really compact movies on budget, which, how many 90 to 95 minute movies does he have? We probably watched a few of them, each of us, I would guess.
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch as much as you did, and I was only slightly more familiar. I'd seen a couple Bergman movies before this, and I watched a couple more. But yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that I think you were saying that it was easier for you to dive into this is that most of his classic films are short. They're 90 minutes. He really makes the most of that time, and he does that here as well. The production was a bit rocky for him to start, and he again was not particularly pleased with the result. And I love this quote. I shout out to the Ingmar Bergman Foundation, I think it was, or Institute in Sweden, who has a great website where I got all of this stuff from.
IBF? The IBF,
yeah.
Josh?
IBF, yeah, maybe. Not to be confused with IBS, definitely.
How's that going for you?
Yeah, that's a topic for another episode. But so he at one point he said, a few days after the premiere of Crisis, the telephone rang. It was Lorenz Marmstedt, who is a producer that he had worked with, saying, "Dear Ingmar, that was an awful film. Hard to imagine anything worse. I suppose your phone is ringing off the hook with offers." So, I mean, it's nice. Sarcastic insult to Bergman there on his debut.
Yeah, who got the last laugh on that one?
Yeah, well, I don't know about Lorenz Marmstedt's career. I'm sure he had a successful career before this, but Bergman definitely.
I mean, Josh, I'm looking over the filmography right now. I mean, so we're in 46. He made 1, 2, 3 more movies before Port of Call, which might be like, would you say that would be like the first well-known one, or what do you think?
I mean, in terms of the
Thirst, maybe afterwards, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the US, it took a little longer for him to break through. I think it was not until Smiles of a Summer Night in 1955 that he had success and notice in the US. And then, of course, 1957, which has both The Seventh Seal and Wild Strawberries, then you get to the point of like the classics.
What a year, bro.
Yeah,
what a year.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So, but within Sweden, I don't know. I can't find box office figures for something like this. I don't know that this was a hit per se, but certainly it didn't, if people didn't like it, or if Bergman himself was unhappy with it, it didn't prevent him from immediately making many more movies, as you just pointed out.
Yeah, like we said, like you're saying, like there are those directors like, oh, he could bring it in on time and on budget. And then it's like, oh, also he's going to become one of the most important filmmakers of all time.
Right. And probably his shit-talking producer friend did not realize that was going to happen.
That seems very un-Swedish to me. That doesn't seem very Nordic, or, that feels like something in the French New Wave I could see happening.
Yeah, presumably these guys were friends, and it was a playful jab rather than a real insult, but and possibly initiated in a way by Bergman himself having complained about not being satisfied with the movie.
I mean, I remember when I was reading Easy Riders and Raging Bulls, and Coppola won for Godfather, and he would just like hold the Oscar in like William Friedkin's face and just keep talking to him as if like he doesn't have all these Oscars while he's just holding them there, So it's just good old fashioned ribbing, Josh.
Yeah, I think so. So this movie, as far as I can tell, was not released in the US, possibly until decades later, when it was maybe released on home video. So there are no contemporary reviews from American critics or English language critics at all. But again, shout out to the Ingmar Bergman Foundation, which has a number of Swedish reviews from the time translated into English conveniently.
I thought you were going to read it in Swedish for us.
No, I would not. I would not attempt to do that. Even if they had not helpfully translated it for me, I would have, run it through Google Translate or something.
You think IKEA is missing a section of like Bergman style furnitures?
Maybe that's a movie. As you make an Ingmar Bergman parody that's set in an IKEA.
I mean, that would work. And also the furniture, like you just said, you watched Wild Strawberries, that clock, at the beginning and the dream, things like that would be perfect for it. So.
A very surreal experience to shop at the Ingmar Bergman themed IKEA.
Which is on Bergman Island.
Right.
Run by the Ingmar Bergman Foundation.
All together there, really a whole Bergman themed location. So critics in Sweden were mixed on this film. Film Sun, which I assume is a pseudonym, in Aftonbladet, one of the main. I looked up what these are. Aftonbladet is one of the biggest. It still exists. One of the biggest daily newspapers in Stockholm. He said, "Almost is the word for Crisis. It is almost anything one might care to name, but only almost. Almost a success, yet almost a fiasco. There is so much that is good, excellent even, in the film, properly thought out and skillfully executed. Yet that only makes one doubly irritated by what is immature and unsuccessful, ensuring that one leaves the film with a feeling of dissatisfaction. Throughout, however, there are fascinating images laden with meaning that are brilliant in themselves. One fine day, Ingmar Bergman will learn the art of melding these together to form a logical entity.
Well, I have to agree with Kaufman because I felt that that's one of the things I liked about it was that I didn't watch this first. I watched a lot of his other ones first. So, when you're seeing where it progresses to, you can see those kind of tent poles. And that's a lot of the reason why we do these first features to see like if they showcase where they're going. And I did see a lot of those things, that became part of his kind of calling card. But yeah, it's just a little shaggy and a little not as precise as what he does in the future.
Right. And again, I don't know what alterations he made from that source material from the play, but it is melodramatic at times, which I honestly, unlike you, spoiler for later, I guess, I was not really a fan of most of the Bergman films that I watched. I did not become a Bergman aficionado. But I think this one is definitely less elegant in the way it kind of shifts from the mundane to the melodramatic. It is, as we alluded to, this story about a young woman who is reunited with her birth mother after having grown up with a sort of foster parent and how that disrupts all of their lives. And it disrupts it in a pretty serious, heavy way toward the end of the film. But I liked the more lighthearted aspects. But it does seem like, as this review says, Bergman maybe hasn't figured out yet how to mesh all this together.
Well, I know you watched Wild Strawberries, and I feel like in a way that's the reverse, right? An older man going back to, his hometown to accept an award and like kind of revisiting his youth and everything. And that, again, deals with a lot of the same themes, but I think in a more expertly crafted way. But I don't want to lose the main point here, Josh. With print media being so tough on you, it's time for you to apply for a film critic job at the Aftonbladet.
I would, hey man, like I said, it still exists. It's still one of the biggest newspapers in Sweden. I'm pretty sure I'd have to write in Swedish though. So I don't know if I can be the successor to Film Sun, to be Film Sun Jr. or something like that. But hey, I'll take what I can get.
I don't even know if they'd give it to you because you're not a Bergman man. A Bergman?
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm not a Bergman. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you get to be a film critic in Sweden if you are critical of Bergman.
Yeah.
So Barbro Alving in Dagens Nyheter, another still existing large daily newspaper in Stockholm. She was more positive. She said, "In this, it seems to me that Ingmar Bergman is the answer to the prayer, not to say the increasingly impatient plea, offered up in respect of Swedish film. It needs personalities to make their mark on a work, people have said. We have to get away from this formulaic filmmaking in which too many cooks have their eye on the audience. Crisis is without doubt the longest, boldest, and most decisive step away from parochialism that Swedish film has taken for a very long time."
Tell us about that, Josh, about the early 1940s Sweden and how kind of stiff and rigid the films were then.
I have to say I am not an expert in early 1940s Swedish film, unlike Barbro Alving, but I can speculate that, like you mentioned, the French New Wave earlier, and that was a very specific younger person's response to what they thought of as this kind of stiff, staid establishment French filmmaking. Perhaps that's similar to where Swedish filmmaking was at this time. And here's Bergman. He's young. He's, eager, obviously, as we learned, to make his mark and to be able to direct his own work. And he's doing something different. I mean, he's using techniques that some things like superimposition, those dissolves and things like that we can see will later on be used in the French New Wave. And you can see how that might be the case. And someone like Barbro Alving, film critic, might have gotten tired of mainstream Swedish film.
The more Bergman I watched, the more I felt Godard was influenced by him. And if you're wondering why I'm single, it's for sentences like that.
You just got to find someone else who feels
where
that fascinating.
Where are my film bays at? Film bay. Yeah. I need a film bay.
They're listening. We'll make this podcast into the personals here and reach out, check out awesomemoviepod.com, get in touch if you're interested in Jason's thoughts and or over a candlelit dinner.
Since we probably know most of the listeners, maybe you got a friend who wants to be a film bay.
There you go. You never know. So finally, Georg Svensson in Bonnier's Litterata Magazine, or Bonnier's Literary Magazine.
That is good. It sounds so much more, just striking when you do it the other way. Give it to us one more time.
Bonnier's Literat. No, sorry, I was wrong. Bonnier's Literara Magazine, I think. I don't know. It's Bonnier's Literary Magazine, which also still exists. So I will say one thing also that I learned from looking these reviews up: print media in Sweden going strong, apparently. So
that's your move, bro.
Awesome. Yeah. So Georg Svensson, he was not particularly keen on this. He said, "This writer must, for his own part, declare that seldom has he seen anything more abortive, spurious, and tedious. Naturally, Crisis has been designated experimental. But wherein lies the experiment? It cannot be in the action, because that is no more experimental than any other, quote, universal short story or any other pretentious Swedish film you might care to name. No, by God, the action is not experimental, as Ingmar Bergman, too, has obviously realized, since he has so palpably striven to make the characters more interesting than becomes them. There is something unbridled, nervously uncontrolled in Bergman's imagination that leaves a disturbing impression. He is thrown from one exaggeration to the other and is seemingly incapable of maintaining a rational position. What Swedish cinema needs is not experimenters, but intelligent, sensible people who can present us with living people and meaningful arguments."
Well, it would be interesting to see later reviews from your man Georg and see, buddy. If he still feels the same way, or what if he went along with. Because there's no really straightforward, just A to B to C Bergman movie that I watched. They're all, a little, some of them are, even if it's emotionally the tension or whatever, like Cries and Whispers may be the most straightforward, but it gets a little confusing. But, that's kind of the fun with him, right? Is he's taking big swings all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and this is more straightforward, I think, than some of the other movies. And it has less of those surreal touches that I noticed in, again, the smaller number of movies that I watched, but in Wild Strawberries or Persona, The Seventh Seal, all of which I've seen. And, this is a more grounded drama. It has that narration at the beginning where basically the movie is sort of warning you at the beginning that this is a mundane story and it's a basic thing with not a lot of drama to it, which is not necessarily the way you want to entice your audience to watch your movie. But I think that is sort of what Bergman wants to say, that hey, this is a story of everyday people and normal things that they go through. And in that way, it is more straightforward. But I just thought it was interesting there, too, that contrast where one reviewer is saying, Swedish cinema is dull and it needs to be shaken up and Bergman is the guy to do it. And this other reviewer saying, no, don't shake things up. We need someone to deliver straightforward drama. And, where do you fall on that, I guess?
Yeah, I'm always for a good shakeup, as you know, Josh. But
I think so, too. And I don't really ever want to be the critic who is the stick in the mud saying, stop trying to do new things. That's not a good perspective to take as a critic, I don't think.
Again, you mentioned the narration, which, again, a characteristic of other Bergman films, I think, more effectively done in Wild Strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a character narrating in there, whereas here we have this omniscient narrator who is, I don't know if that's something that is in the play. I mean, that's something you get more often if you're adapting a novel or a short story, or maybe it's just Bergman trying to distance himself in a way, say, hey, look, this boring ass material that I was given to adapt, I'm just warning you, this is how it's going to be. I am not really sure.
I don't know. I wasn't. Yeah. I didn't do any writing sessions with him.
All right. Well, maybe you can look into that. So, Jason, so as you said, you had not seen Bergman films before, but you really like gave yourself a crash course on Bergman.
Yeah, I watched all the ones you said, Seventh Seal, Wild Strawberries, Persona. I watched Cries and Whispers, and I watched Fanny and Alexander, not 90 minutes, 3 hours and 8 minutes. And, I have some favorites and some not favorites, but I really enjoyed the process of learning and becoming the man I'm supposed to be.
That's good. I mean, and Bergman is incredibly prolific. Are you going to continue on your Bergman journey?
I mean, I'll watch. Yeah, he's got like 44, 46 movies made.
Something like that. Quite a lot.
Yeah. I'd like, and like Fanny and Alexander was a miniseries that they turned into a movie that worked really well. So like something for Scenes from a Marriage, which was the same thing. I'd like to explore more. Yeah. But I don't know what yet. I need a break, Josh. Let me get some sun and a vacation, and then we'll get back to him.
Go relax at the shore on Bergman Island, and then go watch
on the rocky crags of Bergman Island.
I guess there was it's been a while since I saw that movie. There was no nice little beach on Bergman Island.
No, there was. It did look very nice. It looked very appealing to go there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a real place, right?
Yeah, it is a real. I mean, I think that movie actually started. It was probably that Ingmar Bergman Foundation. They hired, is it Mia Hansen-Løve who directed that? To almost do like a promotional thing, and she ended up turning it into like an actual serious drama.
Right, so, and that's where he filmed a lot of his later movies.
Yeah, not this one, but this one,
because this was his first movie, Josh. I said later movies. It is.
So, but yeah, this takes place in an unnamed small town. We never find out exactly. It's meant to be sort of like archetype of a small town, I guess. So before this, I had seen a couple Bergmans. I saw The Seventh Seal at the TCM Festival one year, and I had seen Smiles of a Summer Night, which is easily my favorite of the Bergmans that I've seen, and is an outlier. It's this like lighthearted kind of comedy of manners with a lot of, people who are in love with each other, but the other person's in love with someone else and they can't be together, and like wacky misunderstandings and things like that, which was adapted into A Little Night Music, the Stephen Sondheim musical. And that I really enjoyed. And it's very uncharacteristic of other Bergman films. And I watched Persona and Wild Strawberries in addition to this one. And I feel like Bergman is not for me. And then that's okay. But there are, as I said, tons of Bergman films and plenty more like notable, famous, classic ones beyond what we've watched. And I don't know if I'll be eager to get to them. Maybe we'll do another podcast episode on one of his films someday, and I'll get back into Bergman, but was not really eager to watch more. So, Dave, had you seen any Bergman films?
I saw Persona, which I liked, didn't love. I saw The Seventh Seal, which I liked, didn't love. And I saw this, which I didn't like.
Was part of your enjoyment of The Seventh Seal the Bill and Ted,
of course,
yeah, referencing?
Yeah, I think that's why I watched it, actually, when I first saw it for the first time.
Yeah, see, I feel like that was my problem, and that's not really the fault of the movie necessarily. This happens sometimes with like iconic classic movies where things have been imitated and parodied so much that they now seem silly in their original form, even though they're not or not meant to be. And again, that's not the movie's fault, but I remember watching it and thinking like, I cannot take this seriously because it seems like a comedy sketch to me. So, that's a me problem, I guess. But I'd rather watch Bill and Ted again.
That's a few we've covered for you today. Your problems.
Lots of problems here. Yeah.
Career, bowels.
So Bergman. Exciting to discuss. Yeah.
I mean, you're a character right out of a Bergman movie today.
Am I really? Am I going to have a reverie about all my regrets in life while we do this podcast?
Haven't you been doing that for the last 20 or so years anyway?
Probably so. Anything else you want to say about the background of this movie, Jason?
I think you covered it pretty well there, Josh. You did a good job, my friend. So, I mean, I was hoping you would say the name of the play in Swedish, but that's okay.
Well, it's a Danish play, and I don't know. Moderhjertet
He's pretty good with that Scandinavian accent there, Dave.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know, but I assume that's a Danish word, not a Swedish word. But it's all in the same region.
Yeah.
So we'll come back and talk some general thoughts on Crisis. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 1946, we are talking about Ingmar Bergman's first film, Crisis. And Jason, you, I think, like this the most out of us. And because you're clearly on the Bergman wavelength in a way that Dave and I maybe just didn't get to.
I can't help it, Josh. I'm a more evolved human than you two, but keep trying. With this one, I really thought the first half hour, the stuff in the town was my favorite stuff. Like you're saying, this is a small story. We like that stuff, station agent, things like that, right? And once the Nellie ends up in the big city with the mom, I feel like the diversions went on a little too long. And like when you said, it gets into the melodrama and everything. Towards the end, I don't know if that Jack character fully was realized or made sense or was fully motivated the way it needed to be to where that journey had gone. But again, yeah, enough good stuff for me to be like a soft recommend on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in that I like the early part best. I mean, to me, the best part of the movie overall is the ball, the dance, the local dance. And that is after Jack, who is this sort of bad boy character, has come to town along with Nellie.
Not really much of a bad boy, though. He's a whiny,
Yeah. He's worldly, right? He's from the big city. He's experienced stuff. He's this snappy dresser,
I mean, I guess I take it back now that I think about what he might have done or the things he lied about doing towards the end. So.
Right. And it's unclear whether he actually did any of those things. But, so he's come to town along with Nellie's mother, Jenny, who is also very worldly. She obviously had some premarital sex back in the day and had this child at a very young age and gave the child up and moved away to the big city. And now she has returned and has decided to reclaim her child. So
who she did have a relationship with as like an aunt, right?
Right. They've written to each other. They've never met in person, but they've written letters. And Nellie is aware, even though she calls her Aunt Jenny, she's aware that she's her biological mother. So they've come to town and there's this town dance or whatever in a very parochial kind of uptight manner, and Jack comes in and he gets all the young people to go play some jazz music instead of the boring classical dance music, and they're all living it up. And that was a fun scene, I thought, and I like the way that you can hear the two different pieces of music kind of clashing with each other. It's a very clear representation of the generation gap and all of that. So I liked that when it was a movie about sort of shaking up the small town life. And I agree with you as it gets away from that, and then the characters are all separated. Nellie and Jenny and Jack, they go back to the city, and Ingeborg, the foster mother, stays in the town, and she has a lot of angst over her relationship with Nellie. And then we get some real heavy melodrama stuff at the end. It really lost me there.
I think that's fair. She was a good actor. I mean, they're all good actors, obviously, but Ingeborg, the older woman, and the pain that she goes through, and the kind of realizing that without Nellie, she has no purpose. I thought that was a good performance there.
Yeah, Dagny Lind is the name of the actor who plays Ingeborg. And I think, to me, this is something similar to what I didn't really care for about Wild Strawberries, which is all about that kind of thing. The main character there, this old man who's reflecting on his life and having all these regrets and has these long reveries and dreams and nightmares and visions. And there's that scene with Nellie or with Ingeborg on the train when she's going to visit Nellie and she's having a similar kind of experience. And I was like, this is all a little much. I like it when it's just the everyday life. I like it actually when it's similar to what they describe in the narration at the beginning, where it's just a small story about people doing, little mundane things. So that to me was a little much, but you're right. The acting is good. I think Bergman And that's a hallmark of his films, right? Is that he gets these strong performances. And later on, he had these actors that he worked with over and over again. That none of the people, I don't think, really from this film, but he definitely nurtured that in actors that he worked with later.
Yeah, right. He had his own company, pretty much. Liv Ullmann is synonymous with the Bergman movies. But we're in the same boat that the tonal shift here just wasn't as effective. I don't agree with you on Wild Strawberries, where I think he was able to weave those in rather well. And also, Wild Strawberries is a noted classic, not just me saying that. So,
yeah.
But that's what I mean when you're seeing like things that he learns to execute better as he becomes, a more efficient filmmaker, that maybe the ideas are all there. Maybe there's too many ideas in here, right? For a 90-minute movie, maybe taking a few of those ideas out, especially that stuff where they get to the, spoilers here, the explanation of Jack, who, has both seduced the mother and Nellie now at this point, and using this insane explanation that he's a murderer, and they're like, "Oh, we must sleep with him now that he's a murderer." That really didn't work for me. He killed a pregnant woman and a baby or whatever it was. That didn't work for me at all, I thought.
Yeah, that was ridiculous because it's implied, right? He tells this whole story to Nellie, this like story how he killed this woman he was with who was pregnant. And, he needs to turn himself into the police and will you help me? And that somehow makes her feel sorry for him and attracted to him. And then they sleep together. And then Jenny, the mother, shows up and she's like, "Oh, did he tell you that story about how he killed somebody and he's got to turn himself in?" He tells that to all the ladies. Like, that's the way to get all the different women to sleep with you, is to tell them that you're a murderer.
Film-based, write in and let us know.
Have you tried that tactic before, Jason? Has that worked?
No, because, while I am a bad boy, Josh, everyone knows it's just more on the social scene. So
yeah, that's good.
I was so confused by that scene that I went to Wikipedia to look at the plot summary, and plain as day, it says Jack seduces Nellie by telling her that he previously murdered his pregnant wife and child. I'm like, how is that a normal sentence to write? Like, I understand it's not necessarily like true, but like it's just such a weird plot point. I don't.
How do you say "ho" in Swedish, Josh?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the idea that this is like his standard line or whatever, this is what works on the ladies is bizarre, and he is confusing as a character. Jason, I mean, maybe I'm slow here, but I was confused because initially Jenny claims that she says he's the son of her half brother, like he's her nephew, essentially. And so I was like, oh, when he first showed up, I thought he was basically Jenny's boyfriend. And then I was like, oh, maybe he's not. And so then he's trying to get with Nellie, and who would be like his like half cousin or something.
Yeah, so sorry to cut you off. I don't think that. I mean, first of all, maybe if they're half cousins, that might not even matter at that. Like, I'm not being, flippant here, but maybe that was a thing at that,
Right. Well, I mean, this is the second movie of our season and the second movie to feature potential cousin fucking. So.
What an early theme to pick up on in 1946. But I took it as like, the whole thing, yes, she wants Nellie there, but, I felt like that was when the mom first comes to town with Jack, it seems like they're scam artists to me. They're definitely sexually together, but like scamming the town. And like you said, he's a bad boy. That jazz scene was really good where it's like, hey, we all got to let loose, and everything. And then, he almost seduces Nellie that night, right? They're out on like taking a river walk, and then Ulf just beats him up because Ulf is a Hulk, So, I just think that they all had, Jenny clearly had attachment issues towards everyone, right? She needed to feel some type of love. And I do think that we saw her and Jack kiss in like the hotel room and everything. So, I think that they were a couple, and then he found the younger version of the Jenny and the Nellie, and then, whoa, Nellie.
But what I'm wondering is, I mean, I think all of that you say sounds right to me. And that was the impression that I got. And there's definitely that moment when he shows up in the town and Jenny hasn't realized that he's coming. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, and she tells him I'm here because I have this daughter who's 18. And he's like, oh, Jenny has an 18-year-old daughter, like a younger, hotter version of you. Let me get that. But what I was confused by is that he's not really her nephew, right? She makes that up as an excuse for.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see like this incredible kindness with Jack a lot too, which is a totally different side. Like when he's taking Ingeborg back to the train station and he gets her ticket and he waits with her and buys her candies and makes sure she's sent off well. Like, I like layers to characters. I just don't think these were clearly defined layers.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in the end where it's like he goes from, okay, he's kind of a bad boy, but his bad boyness is like playing jazz music. It's pretty tame. And then you see this tender side of him, like you said, in the train station. But then, suddenly we then leap to he's pretending to be a murderer and he's suicidal and he's violent. And that's not really the sense that I got of him. It seems like a real big leap there so that we can have this big dramatic ending to the movie.
I agree. I felt like that whole sequence, that setting the beauty shop at night with people walking outside and peering in the windows, that looked great, very noirish, but what was going inside the shop was just a little clunky.
Yeah, I agree. So should we talk about Ulf? I didn't feel like Ulf was, I didn't really like him. I didn't want Nellie, like that's sort of like the happy ending here is that she returns to the hometown and she is going to get with Ulf now, but that didn't seem
I'm going to disagree with that though, right? On a few things. One, the end is they're walking along side by side, but they're not holding hands. There's still a distance between them. She returned home, but I don't necessarily think that means she's going to go for Ulf, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the narrator specifically says at the end that like, oh, they're not holding hands, but there's this closeness to them that we understand or something like that.
Right.
It seems to be.
But there's always been
implied.
that closeness between them,
I guess. I mean, to me, that seemed, and, the idea that Ingeborg is now happy about it. And then the narrator says that too, that she's looking at them and she sees this young couple or something like that. So I don't know. I just felt like the whole thing with Ulf is, he's much older and he talks about like, I've been waiting since you were a girl so that I can propose to you.
You dirty dog, Ulf. Yeah. You a dirty dog, Ulf. So,
And as you said, when he sees her with Jack, he like immediately jumps to like throwing the guy in the river or whatever because he can't stand Nellie spending time with some other man, even though she's rejected him already multiple times. So I didn't feel like that was something I was rooting for.
Well, Josh, he's protective of her. He's a veterinarian.
Is he? I thought he was a dentist.
I thought he was a veterinarian, but whatever.
Maybe
either way,
dog's teeth.
Yeah, veterinary dentist. I don't know.
Either way, Josh, he's working in the medical field in some sort, and he's stable. And after you're with a bad boy like Jack, maybe you just need some stability.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, I think but it's not like. I don't know. I feel like he's the kind of guy who, if they get married and she looks at a young man on the street, he's going to slap her or something. I mean, it just didn't seem like
we didn't see any violence towards women by Ulf. No, just him wanting to, her to turn of a legal age so he can make his moves. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not comfortable. I don't think so. Dave, I know you had a beef with the music in this movie.
Oh my gosh. Like every scene is scored differently. Like, I don't know if this is just the era or, well, no, because there's amazing scores from this era. Like there's something very strange about the way the music is approached here. And sometimes it's just happy-go-lucky music during a dramatic scene, or it's like dramatic music during a fun scene. Like whatever it may be, it just doesn't seem to fit.
Do you think, Dave, if maybe you put your score from Party Bus to Hell against it, it would work more effectively?
I think it maybe kind of could. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I noticed that inappropriateness per se, but it did seem to me like sometimes the music was like overbearing, that maybe Bergman didn't have enough confidence in the drama that he had staged.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he kind of overcranked the score there. But on the other hand, like, what did you think about that, the dance scene where you've got what I really liked with the jazz music and the classical music contrasting?
And look at that. These first two movies of the season, like pretty much the only scenes I like were those big, dance scenes. So, hey.
Right.
Yeah.
Dave, give us a little freeform jazz, will you?
Oh, beautiful.
It sounded a little more samba-ish to me, but what do I know? So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we all see certain bright spots, and whether you liked it or not, you see where it's going forward, but definitely a clunkier Bergman film. So I don't know. I'm ready to rate it if you are.
Yeah, sure. Let's rate it out of I don't know, 5 train journeys.
Oh, that's so much nicer than what I thought you were going to do. But
all right.
5. I don't know what I thought you were going to say 5 real or made up dead babies, but
My goodness, no, I was not. Well, because also it's not even always a baby. This is the thing, right? He tells Nellie that it was a pregnant wife that he killed and an unborn baby. And then when Jenny comes in, she's like, "Oh, did he tell you the story about how he killed his wife and his 4 children?"
Yes,
or
2
something
kids,
like that.
right?
So it's not even consistent. How many children did he kill? We don't even know.
So this is out of 5, which incidentally might have been the age Ulf started liking Nellie.
That is quite possible.
I gave it 3. There's enough good here. I would say don't watch this one first. Go watch the noted classics, then come back and see where it goes. So
yeah, I would agree. Even though I didn't, much care for those noted classics, this is certainly one more for the completists, or kind of film history buffs or whatever. I give it a 2.5, which honestly is the same rating that I gave every other Bergman movie except Smiles of a Summer Night. They all just kind of sit there for me, but it's okay. So, Dave, how do you rate this?
I'm going with 2.
Not for you.
Not feeling it. No.
All right. Well, we'll come back then and talk about the legacy of Crisis. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 1946, we are talking about Crisis, the debut feature from Ingmar Bergman. And really, we've already talked a lot about Bergman's career. Beyond this, he became, of course, I don't even know where the Sight and Sound, for example, does a poll on the greatest directors of all time, but he's got to be way up there on any list that people would create.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that he was in top 10 for that, but he's as influential as any director there is, and like I said, to me, you really see a lot of French New Wave stuff coming out of this, and especially a lot of Godard stuff. So, the other cool thing, is we talked about his prolific nature and the fact that he was able to do so many movies for reasonable budgets and get him in on time. And he had all these ebbs and flows, like so many legends do. Is it over? Oh, he's back. Oh, he's down again. Oh, another classic, that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember, his final film, Sarabande in 2003. I remember, that was fairly early when I started working at Las Vegas Weekly and was reviewing movies. I remember a VHS screener of that movie showing up. So, to have that lengthy kind of career, he did mostly work in TV in the later part of his career. And as you mentioned, with Fanny and Alexander and Scenes from a Marriage, which are 2 of his most famous films, both of those were created as TV miniseries for Swedish television and then kind of edited down and released theatrically in the US and maybe other markets internationally. But most of what he did starting in the 70s was for Swedish television, and that's up to and including Sarabande, which is his final work in 2003. So I don't know what the motivation was for that, if he had difficulty in getting theatrical releases. He was still incredibly renowned.
I think it's a lot of what we ran into with Kurosawa, right? They thought he aged out, but he was still working and still had some, big hits left in him.
I mean, it's possible that he wanted to tell stories where he thought, I need, 5, however many hours for this, and this is how you do that. You make a TV miniseries.
Yeah.
So,
well, the things he also had a lot of health issues, right? Like,
yeah,
all of his movies were made in Sweden, like we said, The Island at the end. And ironically, we did talk about IBS in this episode. And because he directed like 170 plays also. And he said he had a private bathroom in the theater. Like, he was, the director of whatever, the National Swedish Theater. He said, my greatest contribution to the theater has been left in that bathroom.
Oh, jeez. Self-deprecating guy, apparently, going back, between that and, what he said about this film. Yeah. So, I mean, Jason, what was your favorite of these movies that you watched?
Persona is definitely my favorite. I just was kind of mesmerized, and just like the twists and turns and the way it was shot, it all works for me. But I also did like Fanny and Alexander, which is, like I said, 3 hours and 8 minutes, but it just sticks in your head. Like, and you're just thinking about it over and over again. So those would be my favorites. Cries and Whispers was my least favorite, but they all have the themes of what we talked about, right? Mortality, loneliness, religion, sex, right? These are the big themes of him. So he does have Golden Globe foreign film wins for Wild Strawberries, The Virgin Springs, and Scenes from a Marriage, Face to Face, Autumn Sonata, Fanny Alexander. He just crushed over there. And he's got, some of the, he's got 9 nods and wins for Best Foreign Film for Wild Strawberries, Face to Face, and Fanny and Alexander, I think. And Cries and Whispers got a Best Picture nod.
So, yeah, I mean, certainly, starting around that late 50s time period, he, was acclaimed and renowned throughout the world. I would say, as I said before, my favorite of his is this outlier, Smiles of a Summer Night, which I would recommend if you didn't like the sort of heavy existential Bergman. But even if you did, it's just a good movie. It's just really entertaining. And I haven't seen the Sondheim musical, A Little Night Music. I watched it actually because I was writing an article about movies based on musicals based on movies. And there is a movie version of A Little Night Music, but I ended up not using it for that article, so I never watched that. But the Bergman original is good. And so that's the one that I would recommend personally.
Josh, just to correct myself, he Best Foreign Film for The Virgin Spring, Through a Glass Darkly, and Fanny and Alexander. And he was nominated for Best Director for Cries and Whispers, Face to Face, and Fanny and Alexander.
Yeah, I mean, tons of awards. And I mean, I think he got an honorary Oscar as well. So, I think that's
huge at Cannes. We always talk about Cannes, huge at Cannes.
I think also sometimes, we talk about these big renowned, titans of cinema, and they're not always as recognized during their lifetime, but he certainly had that, throughout his career, and is, like the pride of Sweden, I think we could say. Most of the stars here in this film worked steadily. They're staples of the Swedish film industry. Inga Landgré, who played Nellie, worked in Swedish film and TV throughout the 2010s. She also was in The Seventh Seal and In the Presence of a Clown, 2 other Bergman films. And I saw, she was in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but not the Swedish one, in the David Fincher one.
That is true. They were all pretty prolific actors. Stig Olin, who played Jack, singer, songwriter, and Lena Olin's father. Many Bergman movies, Port of Call, Prison, To Joy, and Summer Interlude.
Marianne Löfgren was in over 100 films in Sweden from the 30s through the 50s. She died young in 1957, but had a very prolific career, including a Swedish film that I watched recently called Girl with Hyacinths, which is on the Nordic Noir collection on the Criterion Channel. If you want to check that out.
I do I love Nordic Noir limited series, so I probably should watch some of those.
Yeah, it's a bit different from that, but it's an interesting film. I didn't feel personally that it was very noir-like, but it was certainly an interesting kind of non-linear structured film, so worth checking out. As we said, Bergman worked a lot with particular actors. Even though some of these people worked with him again, they're not part of that sort of echelon, like you mentioned, Liv Ullmann, B.B. Anderson, Max von Sydow, who worked with Bergman again and again and were, internationally renowned in their own right. But, Bergman, I'll give him his credit. Not for me.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for... Well, now that we've wrapped it up and Josh is the new film critic at Skörgenborgischborg, I think we've got it, Josh.
I'm gonna join food critic, the Swedish chef, apparently.
Yeah, do it. So
anything else you want to mention about this or your final thoughts on Bergman?
Persona is insane. If you want to watch an insane one, if you want to watch something a little more kind of straight line, Wild Strawberries or Fanny and Alexander.
There you go. Lots for people to check out if you're not familiar with Bergman, as we weren't, but we learned. So that is Crisis. And that is this episode of Awesome Movie Year. You can have an existential crisis with us online and on social media.
Please, we need all the help we can get in so many ways.
Yes.
I'm Jason Harris Comedy or Jay Harris Comedy on all the things. Go for Jason on Letterboxd, your favorite account. And we are at a website. Josh, what is our website now?
We are now at awesomemoviepod.com. We have stopped mentioning a non-working website and we now have a working one. So yes, check us out at awesomemoviepod.com and Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram.
And that's a GeoCities page, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's got a guest book, and a little visit counter, and some animated guys dancing. It's real sophisticated.
I'm pretty excited about that. So put Awesome Movie Pod in your top 8 on MySpace.
Please, maybe friend us on Friendster. Check all that stuff out. You can find some old things from me at joshbellhateseverything.com, which also wasn't working. I discovered when I got our new website and is now working. So check that out. I'm at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, at Signal Bleed on Blue Sky and on Letterboxd. And if you're on Letterboxd and you watch this movie or any of the movies we talk about on the show, tag your review Awesome Movie Year. We would love to know what you think. And check out our producer, David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where you can tell us what your favorite Bergman movie is.
We'd love to hear that. So, Jason, what's in our next episode?
Josh Bergman might have been going boom in the bathroom, but the flop of this year is called Boom in the Moon. That's a professional
What an enticing way to get people to tune in for that film. It's a Buster Keaton movie from Mexico. So tune in next time for Boom in the Moon, and thanks for listening to Awesome Movie Year.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.